from poverty in the land. But here we are, ministers being put in that luxury, so to speak, and people have been talking about it. Some for it, many against it, but still the government of the day is still trying to defend it. Anyway, with me here in the studio to throw more light on this, I have political analysts, both local and international politics. Is well grounded. Join me. Welcome, Salvation Onumbra. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your coming.
Thank you.
Welcome to Africa Discourse. This is the first rodeo. It's like you've been here with us. Okay.
Yeah.
There we are. DR Congo. From one turmoil to the other. At first it was the election squabble. All of a sudden there was similar peace, and now this life payment of salaries and other entitlements to ex-ministers. How do you see this development?
First I would say it's disturbing, and it's bringing some of our fears to pass. I wouldn't have a problem with the previous administration seeking for such a thing, because the previous administration there ruling people for close to 18 years, that shows you your greed.
That's the government of Kabila.
Yes, yes. But my problem is this present government agreeing to that. You know, a nation like you talked about poverty, I was reading somewhere, Congo is about the most poorest country on earth. Congo is the poorest country on earth. And a nation like that, you are now asking for such money. I think I think for the ex-prime minister is about $5,000 a month for housing allowance, and ex-ministers $1,000 monthly for housing allowance, then 30% of their salary for life. You know, it takes us back to the question of the motive of our leaders, of the leaders of that nation. Do they really care about the people, or they care about themselves? Looking at what is there, what level of development is there for you to be asking that after you leave office, that for you not to fall into desolation, that you need money constantly. So it's a question of, you see, Wilson, one thing that I've always thought of is we must redefine leadership in Africa.
Redefine leadership.
We must redefine leadership in Africa. A major problem with leadership in Africa is the definition. How do we see leadership? African leadership is opportunity to enrich yourself at the expense of the people. That's the problem. So there is no true definition. So I think we need to go back to the root, to all our leaders in Africa, Congo in particular. Remember the history of Congo. That was where we had Mobutu Sese Seko, who ruled the nation for over 30 years. And the father of Kabila came in after I was killed for 4 years there, and Kabila has taken over for 8 years, for another over 16 years. Now put together, they got their independence in 1960. That's for over 50-something years. This nation has only gotten 3 leaders. Over 50-something years. So the crop of leaders that Congo has always gotten has always been a source of worry, because you see these people, do they care? So you now know why this nation is the poorest on earth. And mind you, sir, they are very rich with natural resources. Very rich with natural resources. In fact, the most important mineral that they use to produce batteries come from Congo. And yet the poverty level, so it's the redefinition. Personally, I'm against it. It's wrong. It's wrong for you to be asking for that. I was thinking that all the things you got when you were there, is it not enough? Now you still want to get it for life. The nation should be paying for your rent. We should be, when you leave, your flight once in a year, tickets, they should be paying for it. Then your rent, then they should be paying you 30% of your salary. A nation that does not have enough. Do you know that over 80% of the population of Congo live on less than $1.25 a day? That's extreme poverty. So I am disturbed. I am disturbed about our definition of leadership. I see a lot of selfishness in that decision alone. I see selfishness there.
You see a lot of selfishness in that decision. Now, that is the man we're talking about, Bruno Shibala, the ex-prime minister. Now, would this throw a kind of a light on the complaint of the opposition, saying that there is compromise, or there was an agreement between Kabila's government and Felix Tshisekedi's government for this thing to come up?
That's why I told you about my worry, because the world, everybody is happy for Congo, for this new government that is coming in. But with something like this, we are getting scared. Are you different? Because a government that is coming to serve the people is not supposed to allow this to happen. I believe the reason why the present president is allowing this, because he knows that when he retires, he too, he wants to enjoy the benefits. So, of course, it's giving credence to that. We are suspecting that for you to allow this to take place, we expected him to cancel it. But I heard him say that it's not for enrichment. I read what he said, and his response was very discouraging.
No, but still, take a look at the amount. It's just 2,000, 30% of the current prime minister's salaries. Not really for enrichment. It's just to keep body and soul together. What is bad in it?
Where it becomes bad is the state of the nation. I want to know, what is the average worker they're receiving? The people. Leadership, we are serving the people. What are the people of Congo? These people, 80% of your people are living on less than $1.2 a day. And you are asking for such a money. That is where the problem comes in. If the people are comfortable and you are asking for this, I will understand. The standard of living of the citizens of Congo is categorized by UN as extreme poverty, not just poverty. You are living in the poorest nation on earth. It's just like, for example, a poor man gives birth to a child, and the child is asking for, you want to go to Covenant University. It's not reasonable. Covenant University is not bad for anybody to go to, but you sew your coat according to your cloth. It's where you come from. So I think what they are asking for is bigger than their nation. That's where the problem lies. It's not the asking, it's the state of the nation. So if you are making such requests when your nation is still this poor, when the people are still impoverished, then it sets a question in our hearts that, did you ever have the interest of the people in your hearts? I think that's the problem. It's not just the asking, it's the state of the people. Of course, people get pensions and all that, but that's too much. You can't serve for 4 years or how many years and you are asking for that. So it's because of the state of the people's heart.
All right, now, would you want to agree to the fact that this is one of the peace deal that Felix struck with Kabila for him to hand over power?
A peace deal that involves imposition, your people suffering, is not a peace deal. I believe if he was striking a peace deal, he should strike a deal that does not affect the people. I believe that money that wants to go for close to 40 ministers and all that, I believe it can do a lot for that nation. So if their present president, if this president of Congo wants the improvement of his people and his nation, I think a peace deal like that, I don't accept it. I think they should go back to the table. Now he's there. If he's really telling us that he's not afraid of Kabila, he should make a choice. In fact, I'm scared. I'm scared and I'm worried. I'm worried in the fact that I want to be sure that it's not a puppet of it's not a puppet of anybody.
Are you saying that it's a puppet?
That's what I'm saying, that I want to be sure, but I am scared. Because the writings on the wall, I want to believe that Kabila is not still ruling Congo from retirement. Because we've seen that a lot in Africa. I want to believe that Kabila is not the one sitting on the chair and we're not having a puppet there.
But still, we are saying that Felix there. Felix Tshisekedi is the one there. So why are you saying it's a Kabila?
We know African politics, the godfatherism and all that. We know about the cabal situation in many African nations where there is just somebody sitting on the chair, but many times the main people controlling the events are behind the person. And because many times when these people want to rise to power, they do a lot of compromise. They make compromise because of the desperacy. You are so desperate, you want to cling to power. They make a lot of promises, a lot of compromise. So when they come on the sea, they don't have full power. They can't exercise their full power because of the compromises that they made to rise to the top. I'm already seeing a scenario like that playing out in Congo. I'm not seeing this president in charge, sir. I'm seeing a man who wants to please the fathers and displease the people. That's what we're seeing played out.
Wow. A man that wants to please the fathers and displease the people, because the opposition complained that there is a kind of a foreplay in this election. There is an agreement, according to the opposition, that Felix cut a deal with Kabila. Hence, Kabila choose to surrender, well, as a give up power to Felix. But with this pointer, is there an element of truth in what is saying? If yes is the answer, who is the puppet in this case, and who is the puppet master? But we'll return. We're going to throw more light on this after this break. Do stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Today on Africa Discourse, we're taking a look at the golden parachute law or decree in the Congo, giving rise to a law that gives a kind of a leverage of life payment of salaries to ministers, ex-ministers. You just name it. Once you choose 7, once you leave government, your salaries and all the entitlement continues, and that thing is causing so much reactions in Africa, even globally. You get to see BBC showing interest in that report. Now, people are reacting. The Congo, they've been in the news, not so good aspect of it. Unrest today, unrest tomorrow. Do you see the opposition follow you coming out to take a stand because of this new development, to really fight against the government of Felix?
Of course, the mistakes of the sitting government is always the advantage of the opposition. When the opposition is wise, they know how to take advantage of it. But it is them taking advantage of it in a right way, not going to, because I know about a lot of rebel groups in Congo. Congo has a lot of rebel groups. Of course, this is giving opportunity, and I want to say that the opposition should sit up. With this first decision, with this decision of the present president of Congo, it is time for us to watch him very well to know if he stands for the people or if it's a continuation of Kabila. So I feel the opposition is very important. They should watch it. In fact, I'm in support of the opposition.
You keep mentioning Kabila in all this, but the man is out of the picture.
But his policies...
He wasn't the one that is defending this stand right now. Is Felix's government saying, yes, this is the right thing to be done? And let's satisfy them so they won't fall into dissolution, so to speak, and or become destitute after serving government.
And the reason why I keep calling Kabila in this is because if the present president is seeking ways to appease Kabila, the question is, how far is he willing to go? Will he stop here? Are there other things? Remember, the media just discovered this. Are there more things that have not been discovered? Is it that before Kabila gave up the nation to this man, are there more? We are scared already. So that's why I'm saying the opposition should sit up right now to make investigations, to find out what really happened. Now, the international community, we must not take lightly what the opposition said, that there were some agreements. We are looking into those things now. It's time for us to study that nation. What has gone off this nation? What the handing over of power, what is it costing Congolese? What is it going to cost this nation? Because obviously it's showing that it's not free. It's not free. So I want the opposition to wake up, to really look at this government, to investigate. We want to say, there's a problem with African leadership generally. I call it the syndrome of sit on the throne. You don't want to leave. African leaders, they don't want to leave. Whenever they taste power, it's too sweet. Because leadership here is not servant leadership. You serve yourself. You don't serve the people. So it's always sweet. That's why you see the longest serving leaders most times always come from Africa. Even in Nigeria, you see some people that look for third term, and you always see them, they always fight them out nation after nation. So you see, whenever they live like this, some of them, they don't completely leave. Like the case of Congo now, we are disturbed that Kabila has not completely left. That Kabila only left the seats, but the person that is sitting there, we've seen it in many African politics, where the man sitting there. So the opposition must wake up. They are very important to the people now. They must put this government on the hot seat. They must always follow up with it. We want to get the information. They should go into it. They should not just raise accusation. Come out with facts. Let's see what is, so that in the next election, when the people are convinced that this man is not standing for our interests, they will vote him out. They will vote him out. So I want to encourage the opposition to stand up. The people need them now.
All right, now talking about opposition, yes, we have a House of Parliament in DR Congo, yes, but they are not doing anything about this. They are not saying anything about it. It was like in a hush tune. That was what this was done since November, until the press got a whiff of it and they came out saying, this is what your government has done. Do you see the House backing the government or saying, look, this thing needs to be looked into?
I see a crop of selfish leaders. I feel like before that agreement was done, everybody was settled. You know, in Africa, as long as I am satisfied, whoever dies is not my business. So I see a conspiracy against the people of Congo from the government, from the ruling class, both the ones who have left and the ones who are there. Because such attitude is showing us that the leopard does not change his skin. You can't change the skin of the leopard. So it's like the attitude, because with the history of Congo, sir, they've always gotten selfish leaders. Sorry. From Mobutu to Kabila's father and to Kabila now. So our fear is right now, these present new leaders, we don't know how selfless they are. But I've not seen selflessness at all for them to allow this to happen. Sir, if they were the ones that cried out, I would have been happy. It was the press that discovered. It's like when you are stealing and they caught you. So it was the press that discovered it. Why were they trying to keep it away from the people? If they knew it was something to be proud of, why were they keeping it away? So if you see, it's a conspiracy. It was covered up. My question is, what more is covered up? So I do not see power. I see them as fearful people just sitting there, scared of the cabals of people who were there before. Like I said, I go back to my point. I think Kabila has not stopped ruling Congo and his cabinets. That's my assumption, sir. I may be wrong, but that's my assumption.
Wow, Kabila has not stopped ruling Congo. It's like the case of the puppet, and of course puppet master, what you call the puppeteers. Now you're talking about the house being hushed because they've been settled, so to speak. Do you see people rising up? To cause really happened in early 2000. There was civil unrest in early 2000 when Kabila came into the scene to really quiet everything, and he had almost a successful break in governance until he started staying too long and people started reacting, also they need an election. These are people coming out en masse to say enough is enough. No, no, and no.
Well, the coming out of the people also depends on the opposition has a great role to play, because many times when you have been in slavery for too long, fear comes into you. You're always afraid of your master. You remember, these are people who have been in slavery, who have faced dictatorship and all that for many years. So the ability to know your rights, to know how to confront leadership, some of them may be scared and all that, but the truth is, I don't see the people really coming up because of this. But subsequent things like this will lead to uprising, of course, because there is a way the people will get to, they can't take it anymore. So let the people watch. This is okay, but this thing must be fought. People should be raising their voice. But subsequently like this, and if the opposition, the media of Congo, if they continuously educate the people of their right, democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So democracy is about the people. I believe that Congo is practicing democracy, not autocracy, not military. So it is a government of the people. It's about the people. So the people of Congo, the Congolese, they need to understand that government is about us. We have a voice. We can speak. So by the time everybody begin to speak up, I think the boldness of the people will come back. So the media, they are doing a good job for revealing this. Let them do more. Let the opposition do more. If there's anything, let's keep the government on their toes. The only way for a government to perform very well is when the people are not quiet. When people are not quiet, when the media is not quiet, when the opposition is active, the government will be on their toes. You see, I always say this. The beauty of every market is competition. For example, MTN would have not been as cheap as it is if there was no Glo. It is when you look at the market, when there's good competition, it puts you on your toes. So also is politics. When you have an active opposition, a civilized people who know what is their right and who keep asking for it, the government will sit on its toe. So I do not see the people rising up with this, but I see the people waking up, to their rights as they are being sensitized, and I see them gradually coming to question the government. I see them coming there.
Gradually coming to question the government. As we're talking right now, there's a session of AU meeting. Now they have a new president, the president of Egypt, Al-Sisi, and they're talking about collaboration in the fight against corruption. Do you see them extending their reach to Congolese? Because right now people have been complaining about the high rate of corruption in that country. Do you see AU intervening?
I will blame AU if they don't intervene. Statistics shows that over $15 billion is lost in Congo through corruption yearly.
$15 billion.
$15 billion is lost in Congo annually through corruption. So if AU, if they are talking about anything about collaboration, and look at their statistics in Transparency International, it's a very corrupt nation.
Yeah, 161 out of 180.
So if AU is talking about corruption, of course you've got to look at the most corrupt places, and you are looking at Congo. Why? The question is, AU should ask is, why do you have so much resources, natural resources, and you are the poorest country in the whole world? I think they should be the one of the first nations to visit. Then they will visit Nigeria, but they should visit that. They should visit Congo very well.
Visit Nigeria. Anyway, that is a talk for another day. Now, opposition had said that the reason why they choose to do this is another ploy to siphon government funds, which already allude to the $15 billion leave the shores of Congo annually. Is this another loophole?
Oh, it's
because they're saying for the prime ministers, the ministers, retired ministers or out of service ministers, life payment of salaries. Well, I say that this is another loophole to enrich individuals. This may not be the main purpose.
The truth is, what many times in Africa we know that what is written in paper, when we write it on paper that it is 500,000 we used, many times corruption, if corruption writes 500,000 on paper, just know it's 50 million. We all know that this is a conduit pipe. It may not be the exact money. So I am not, nobody is wrong if they see it. It's a means, because this is connecting these people for life. This word is for life, not even to a certain age. They are just saying that as long as we are alive, this nation owes us. What do they owe you for? The time you led this nation is the poorest on earth. There is no infrastructure in Congo. There is nothing in Congo. And yet you are asking the nation to pay you for life. What did you do? Mandela never asked South Africa to pay him for life. With all we know about Mandela, the great leaders that we know all over the world never asked their nation to pay them for life. You led your nation to become the poorest on earth.
But Nigerian governors, they are being paid for life right now. At least they asked for some houses approved it, and
we said AU is coming to Nigeria. We said that when they touch Congo, they will come here.
Or did they borrow from our nation? Let them be happy. All right, that's just what's on a lighter note. Because now, do you see African nations borrowing a leaf? People that have this system of governance where they have prime ministers, do you see them borrowing a leaf from what DR Congo did? Talking about giving their ministers life salaries.
Well, it all depends on the nation. There are African nations where you see leadership to some extent. For example, I think when you look at nations like South Africa, there are certain African nations like Ghana, where you see not perfect leadership, but at least leadership that is better than others to some extent. So I see, said not all African nations are like that, but the others, who knows? In Africa, we easily copy the negative things. I don't know if our skin color is affecting our thoughts, but we easily copy the wrong thing. But in different African nations, sir, the truth is, this is just what they wrote down. But whatever is happening in Congo is happening in many African nations. It's just like Congo has made their corruption official. It's an official corruption. Corruption in the law. They've legalized it. But other African nations is not yet legalized. It is unofficial. So I think if Congo is bold enough, I think some other persons, they could be taking the steps that somebody fought for third term in this country. So so legalize corruption. We pray against that, but it's coming. It's coming. That's why the people must arise. Africans must know their rights. Africans must begin to question their leadership. We must begin. And the fear I have is for the younger generation. Because our younger generation of leaders in Africa, they don't have good example. The examples that is shown to this upcoming generation is an example that when you are a leader, enrich yourself. And so I fear you go to universities now, the SUG president, they talk of corruption there. The class prefect, they talk of, these are the future leaders. They talk of corruption there. So the examples of that is being set for the younger ones. So sometimes I am scared of even the future of Africa. Because the people who will come and take over, what are they learning? Even we, the citizens, we have accepted corruption. If your brother becomes governor, you expect him to build 15 houses. If your brother becomes a governor and he comes back home after 4 years and he does not give you 10 million, you call him a fool. And yet you expect him to be decent. Then I've seen, there was a president in America, I'm forgetting the name now. Some of them, after their presidency, the nation decided to build houses for them. That's what we call servant leadership. So we need to go back there. Africa needs to understand again that when we come into leadership, it is every great person from Mandela, even Jesus Christ, even Muhammad, any great person you see, they came to serve the people. It's legacy. African leaders must begin to seek legacy. A good name is better. Mandela was not a thief, but till today, many people, Mandela's wealth extends even when he died. Till today, Mandela's house is a tourist center in South Africa. It's an example. Instead of learning from Congo, learn from Mandela. There is a better example. I don't think Congo is the best example.
So you're saying now Congo is like, one of the worst examples in Africa?
It's not the example to follow. Our youth, I'm talking to the African youth, when you want to learn leadership, look at the Nnamdi Azikiwe's, look at the Mandelas, look at the people who fought, who were selfless in their services, people who fought for independence, people who, for example, Mandela, he served 4 years and he stepped down. There's something we don't know how to do in Africa. We don't know how to step down. No, we die there. We die there or they chase us out. The ability to resign, that's why you see it's very hard to resign in Africa. We don't resign. So we should learn. I'm speaking to African nation. I'm calling upon you all. Congo is not the example. No. Mandela has left a great example for us. Mandela is celebrated globally. Do you know that? I don't know the name. Most people out there, they don't know the name of many African presidents, but they know Mandela. Mandela was visited by the Pope, visited by Barack Obama. The world stood for Mandela because he was a selfless leader. I want to speak to African leaders that there is more profits in being selfless. When you are selfish as a leader, all you get is the immediate gain. But when you are selfless as a leader, even your great-grandchildren, they enjoy. The Bible says a good name is better than riches. Leave a good name, leave a legacy, serve the people, and you will get it. The people will pay you back. I have learned, sir, that the people, Africa, people generally know how to reward good leaders. People know how to reward you. You may not have enough to steal. You will begin to see people rising up. No, this man is too good. Let's get him a good house. This man is too good. Let's get him this. You see your children the other day. Today, can you walk into a place and say, I'm Abasha's son, and begin to get favor? Because of the name. So African leaders should come up to understand that legacy is important. When we lead in Africa, let's think of the legacies that we are leaving behind. What are we sending to the younger generation? Are we teaching the younger generation the right things? Are we teaching them? Are we showing them that leadership? I am waiting for the day for the man who will lead Nigeria, and after his, or who will lead any African nation, and after his leading, his wealth does not change. He's still there to serve the people. That's what we're looking for.
All right, now from the card being shown right now to the Congolese, and of course to Africa and the world in general by Felix Tshisekedi, do you think his government will be different from that of Kabila? That is a question people are asking. For this government to start off with this, would there be any clear-cut difference?
I want to say that for now, the signs are not very good. The signs are not very good, but I still see that he still has time to make a change. I still think that it's not too late. It's just starting. I want to advise that. But the present signs that we're getting is not good. But it should change. It's already there. It's already the precedent. It should be strong. I understand. I know that he's under pressure. I understand that he may be under pressure, but he has to be bold. He's leading the people. His loyalty should be to the people. But presently now, if he goes the way he's starting, it's going to be disastrous. It's going to be disastrous. But I feel there's an opportunity. Change is possible. He should go back to his drawing board again. He should seek how to help his people. But right now, I'm afraid.
Now, taking a look at the economy, because the first thing he talked about is to restore the economy. With this development, do you think the economy will be healed?
With this development, of course, we know that money is going to the wrong place, because to restore an economy, you need a lot of money there. You need a lot of things to do. You need a lot of buildings to make. So, and when you're spending money on the corrupt people you are supposed to send to prison, you are sending them money. That's already a problem on your economic plans. So that's why we see that. That's why I said the first steps he's taking is against his own policy. He's shooting himself in the leg. So he really needs to take a reverse. He needs to come back, take a second look at everything he's doing, and make new decisions, make firmer decisions. But with the way it's going, no. The money of the nation is going to be spent on a few. It's going to be getting to a few. And the masses who elected him, I want him to know that the Congolese trusted him with their votes. They went all out. They risked their life. They stood against Kabila. They were there, they stood, and they said, he shouldn't disappoint the people. He should rise up, he should make changes. But right now, no. But he must be bold. I think what he needs is boldness. He needs to be able to stand up and make his decision. But right now, sir, I think the economy is heading for problem if it goes this way. We're going to have economic crisis.
Economic crisis?
Economic crisis, yes.
Wow. That's quite interesting. We're taking a look at the Democratic Republic of Congo. Life payment of salaries to ministers. It's called the Golden Parachute Decree, instituted by former Prime Minister, Mr. Bruno Shibala. Yes, it was the one that did it. It was done in a hush format, but the news just broke because it was sniffed out by journalists. Of course, there was one or two here from opposition members, and right now the country is speaking. Africans, they are reacting globally. They are taking a look at what is happening in DR Congo, from one turmoil to the other, from one trouble to the other. Don't forget that they just conducted their election last year, December, after so much tussle, after so much fight and so much speculation that Kabila wouldn't want to give up power. Right now, he gave power to Felix. Fulani is like saying that there is a collaboration between Felix and Kabila. That's like a continuation, that Kabila seems to be at the helms of affairs. He denied it, and the world is saying that, look, you have a new leader until this news broke. What news do you think would broke again in DR Congo, knowing fully well the people are so dissatisfied about this development? Now, to call it a wrap on this show, what advice do you have for President Felix? What advice do you have for the House, even for the opposition and Congolese in general? Then Africa, what do you think they should learn from what is happening in DR Congo? Take your time.
I studied developing nations. I looked at their trends, and I looked at the African trend, and there was one thing I noticed with developing nations when you look at the America and developing nations. Americans love America. Africans don't love Africa. It's a very, very key thing I've noticed, because that's why when you see an American, there's a way they value the American flag. When an American person is serving, they want the nation to be okay. In Africa, we serve ourselves. Africans love themselves, but they don't love Africa. We need to come back. Africans generally must come back to whatever you love, you can develop. That is why you see that
whatever you love, you can develop.
You can develop. For you to develop something, you need to first love that. Africans are very intelligent people. You will notice something about Africans. When they manage their own companies, the companies excel. When they manage government companies, the companies break down. Why? When it is their own company, it is self-interest. That's why you still see the richest men in Africa. You still see wealth here. We know how to manage. That's why anything private succeeds in Africa, but anything government fails, because Africans don't love Africa. The school teacher in Africa will not teach the children from the bottom of our hearts. The policeman in Africa will not do the police job from the bottom of his heart. The politician will go there, we spoil it. So because we feel like everybody's spoiling it, I want to speak to Africans. It is time to love our continent again. It's time to give it our all. We need to come to, both politicians and people, let's look at our continent. Let's love this continent. It is because the developed people, they love their nations. That's why we are running there. Americans have loved America. The Canadians have loved Canada. They have built it together. Now, after we have destroyed our Africa, we start immigrating to the places they love. And we start insulting our, we can come back home. Let's build Africa. And to build Africa, we must be selfless. We must be patriotic. We must look beyond ourselves. I want Africans to know this, that when you build your nation, you build your future. When you build your continent, you build your future, because you are laying the bed where your children will lie. Your children are coming here. When we talk about politics, we're talking about our future. We're talking about, so Africans must come. And I'm speaking to the government also of Congo. That nation has suffered a lot. This present president, you have a lot of responsibility to do. I want you to look at the people, serve the people with all your heart. The opposition, we must not go violent, but kudos to you for bringing this out. Become more investigative, bring out more. And the people of Congo, I want people to rise, begin to love your nation, Congo. Give it all it takes. Question your government and get involved. And I think that when African begins our patriotism, I see a beautiful future. The most intelligent people on earth, most of them are Africans. It's just for us to come together, love our nations, and build it. Let's put our effort. The way you will handle your private company, handle your government company like that. Let's build Africa. Let's build Africa.
Yeah, let's build Africa. Let's build Africa. But the example we are seeing, quite disheartening in most parts of this continent. Take a look at the Central African Republic, Congo, Libya, you just name it. Cameroon, Nigeria, Lesotho, Namibia, the list just goes on and on. Egypt, Morocco, Togo, Sierra Leone, Liberia. You can mention lots and lots of them. Ethiopia, Eritrea. Anyway, we are once the cradle of civilization. I believe that one of these days we'll get back to those days, good old days, where Africa was the signature of all eyes. Salvation, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Thank you,
I really appreciate your wonderful analysis. Let's see the next step of Felix Tshisekedi talking about the new president of DR Congo. Is he going to listen to the people, or is he going to insist that the life payment of salaries to ministers is sacrosanct? Ours is to report back to you. Bye for now.